20 inches, that is the vertical distance this ground drops every single year. While you watch this, the very foundation of the Western Hemisphere's largest metropolis is compressing, cracking, and sinking into a vanished lakebed. We stand on the precipice of a slow-motion geological collapse. It is a crisis invisible to the naked eye but felt in the fractured concrete of every sidewalk. This is not Venice sinking into the sea, this is a city sinking into itself. The ground beneath our feet is moving. Engineers call it subsidence, but the locals know it as the price of history. Before the concrete jungle of Mexico City, Mexico dominated the horizon, there was only water, light, and a prophecy. In the year 1325, a wandering tribe known as the Mexica gazed out across the shimmering expanse of Lake Texcoco and saw a golden eagle perched on a prickly pear cactus, devouring a snake. It was the divine signal to stop running. They drove the first wooden piles into the marshy shallows, not knowing they were founding an empire on mud. The Aztecs, as history would later name them, did not fight the water, they engineered it. They built Tenochtitlan, an amphibious wonder of floating gardens called chinampas and causeways that doubled as dikes. King Nezahualcoatl, the poet-architect, designed a 10-mile dike to separate the brackish waters from the fresh spring flow, creating a hydraulic balance that modern engineers still envy. It was a masterpiece of urban adaptation. The geography was both a fortress and a trap. Sitting 7,350 feet above sea level in a volcanic bowl with no natural outlet, the water had nowhere to go but up. When the rains came, the basin filled like a bathtub. The Aztecs managed this with sluice gates and canals, living in harmony with the flood cycles. But that delicate equilibrium was shattered in 1521. Hernán Cortés and his conquistadors looked upon the canals of Tenochtitlan and saw not a marvel but a military obstacle. They besieged the city, destroyed the dikes to starve the defenders, and leveled the pyramids to build cathedrals. The Spanish hated the water. They wanted dry streets for their horses and solid ground for their heavy stone plazas. So they made a decision that would doom the geography for the next 5 centuries. They decided to pull the plug. The colonial era became a desperate war against nature. Without the Aztec flood controls, the new Mexico City, Mexico, flooded catastrophically, turning streets into stagnant rivers for years at a time. In 1607, the viceroy commissioned a German engineer named Enrico Martinez to solve the problem once and for all. Martinez proposed a tunnel through the mountains to drain the lake into the Tula River Valley. Thousands of indigenous laborers were conscripted, forced to dig through the hard rock of Nacastango with pickaxes and shovels. It was a brutal, deadly undertaking. When the tunnel collapsed, they turned it into a massive open cut, a scar in the earth visible from space today. But even this was not enough. The city continued to grow and the water continued to rise. By the late 19th century, the ambition of the city had outgrown its unstable soil. President Porfirio Diaz, a dictator with a taste for French elegance, wanted Mexico City to rival Paris. He ordered the construction of massive marble monuments, wide boulevards, and iron-framed palaces. Architects pointing at models in the presidential palace ignored the soft clay beneath them. The most infamous victim of this hubris is the Palacio de Bellas Artes. Construction began in 1904, designed by Italian architect Adamo Bori to be a floating heavyweight of white Carrara marble. It was too heavy. Before it was even finished, the palace began to sink. Today, if you stand on the street, you have to walk down stairs to enter the ground floor, which was originally at street level. The building has sunk more than 15 feet since its inception. It is a beautiful disaster. The 20th century brought a new kind of transformation, explosive vertical growth. As the population swelled toward 20 million, the demand for space pushed the city upward, despite the jello-like ground. In the 1940s and 50s, Mexico City construction site aerials would have shown a chaotic mix of Art Deco skyscrapers rising next to crumbling colonial churches. But the real test of this transformation came on September 19, 1985. A magnitude 8 earthquake struck off the coast, sending shockwaves that amplified as they hit the soft lakebed sediments of the capital. The city shook like a bowl of soup. Hundreds of buildings collapsed and thousands died in the dust. Yet amidst the devastation, one tower stood perfectly still. The Torre Latinoamericana, a 44-story modernist skyscraper completed in 1956, became a legend that day. Its engineer, Leonardo Sievert, had understood the soil better than anyone. He drove 361 concrete piles over 100 feet deep, not to hit bedrock, but to anchor the building into a harder layer of sand, allowing it to float with the seismic waves. While steel beams twisted and concrete crumbled around it, the Latinoamericana didn't just survive. Its windows didn't even crack. It was a turning point in seismic engineering. Today, you can see modern skyline cranes assembling structures like the Torre Mayor, which uses 96 massive diamond-shaped dampers to absorb earthquake energy. These buildings are essentially giant shock absorbers. They are engineering miracles. But the threat from below is no longer just shaking, it is thirst. To feed the growing metropolis, engineers began drilling deep wells into the aquifer beneath the city in the mid-20th century. This decision accelerated the sinking to a terrifying speed. As water is extracted, the clay dries out and compresses, causing the surface to drop. This creates a destructive paradox. The city is sinking because it is thirsty and it floods because it is sinking. The Grand Canal, once the primary drainage artery, lost its slope due to subsidence. Gravity stopped working. Now gigantic pumping stations must lift the sewage and rainwater up to drain it out of the valley. It is an endless battle against physics. Underneath the asphalt, a secret world of infrastructure fights to keep the city alive. The Drenaje Profundo, or deep drainage system, is a labyrinth of tunnels over 100 miles long, buried up to 200 meters underground. It is a subterranean river of sludge and storm water. Maintaining this beast requires technology straight out of science fiction. Because the fumes are too toxic for humans, the government deploys a robot named Tlaloc ITC, named after the Aztec rain god, to inspect the pipes. Equipped with cameras and sensors, this rover crawls through the darkness where no human can survive. It is the silent guardian of the city's sanitation. Even the transportation networks are at the mercy of the soil. The Mexico City Metro, a sprawling network moving 4 million people daily, runs on pneumatic rubber tires rather than traditional steel wheels. This design, borrowed from the Paris Metro but adapted for Mexico, reduces vibration in the unstable soil and helps the trains climb the steep grades required to surface from the deep tunnels. Every time a subway train arriving at station breaking screeches, it is a reminder of the adaptations required to move millions of people through a dried-up lake. The tunnels themselves undulate over time, requiring constant re-leveling. You can feel the dip and rise as you ride the orange line. Often, the digging reveals more than just dirt. In 1978, electrical workers digging a trench near the main cathedral struck a massive stone disc. They scraped away the mud to reveal the dismembered body of the moon goddess Coyolxauhqui. They had accidentally found the Templo Mayor, the holiest site of the Aztec Empire, buried and forgotten under the colonial city. This discovery halted the urban sprawl and forced the city to look backward. Today, the ruins sit exposed next to the sinking cathedral, a physical timeline of conquest and survival. The modern city literally rests on the bones of the old one. The struggle continues in the 21st century with the water crisis. Mexico City, Mexico, imports 40% of its water from the Cutzamala system, a titanic engineering feat that pumps water 1,100 meters up over the mountains and through 127 kilometers of pipelines. It is one of the most expensive and energy-intensive water systems on Earth. Imagine a river flowing uphill. That is what keeps this city hydrated. Meanwhile, during the rainy season, the streets turn into canals, mocking the efforts to drain them. The irony is cruel. Architects and urban planners are now pivoting from fighting nature to mimicking it. The cancelled Texcoco Airport project was a controversial attempt to build on the worst soil in the valley, but its cancellation opened the door for the Lake Texcoco Ecological Park. This massive project aims to reclaim the land, allowing it to flood naturally and recharge the aquifer. It is a return to the wisdom of Nezahualcóyotl. In the chaotic financial district of Santa Fe, the Park La Mexicana creates a lung of green space and rainwater capture systems amidst a fortress of glass towers. The new vision is sponge architecture, surfaces that absorb water rather than repel it. The skyline continues to evolve with defiance. The Torre Reforma, a triangular prism of concrete and glass, rises 246 meters above the Paseo de la Reforma. It is designed to twist under seismic load, its concrete walls acting as a spine. During construction, the engineers had to move a protected 1929 Gothic stone house that stood on the site. They didn't demolish it. They put the entire house on hydraulic rails and slid it 18 meters to the side, built the skyscraper's foundation, and then slid the house back. A perfect metaphor for Mexico City. The past is never destroyed, just rearranged to make room for the future. Walking through the streets today, you see a cinematic fog over rooftops at dawn, blurring the lines between the smog and the mountain mist. You see pedestrians crossing busy intersections where canals once flowed. You hear the sound of piled drivers echoing off 16th century volcanic rock walls. This is a place where time is stacked vertically. The Aztec ruins are in the basement, the colonial palaces are the ground floor, and the glass towers are the penthouse. All of them are slowly riding the elevator down together. Mexico City, Mexico is a testament to human stubbornness. It is a civilization that should not exist, thriving in a location that is actively trying to expel it. Every glass of water poured, every subway ride taken, and every skyscraper built is an act of rebellion against geology. It will continue to sink and they will continue to build. It is the immovable object meeting the unstoppable force. And for now, the city is winning.